Hello, good morning, good afternoon, welcome. I'm very pleased to be joined by Brooke Vandygriff. Brooke is the COO of HIF Global. HIF is highly innovative fuels and have a whole a global array of projects currently under development from down in Chile to Asia and obviously in Texas I think I'm speaking to Brooke now. So welcome, Brooke. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Nadeem. Appreciate you having me.
And you're going to be one of the speakers at World Hydrogen North America, which is in May the 21st to 23rd. Obviously, a lot happening in the US specifically, but maybe do you want to give us your sort of introduction to HIF? It's quite a unique company, certainly from my viewpoint.
Yes, absolutely. So HIF, like you said, stands for Highly Innovative Fuels. We are an e-fuels production company, which I think most of your audience knows what that is, but briefly for those who don't, we take renewable electricity and split water into hydrogen and oxygen, and then take that hydrogen and combine it with captured CO2 and synthesize it into our first step is generally methanol. And then the methanol can be further refined into gasoline or jet fuel or other derivatives. We have a demonstration plant operating in southern Chile in Patagonia, where we do prove this concept with, a wind turbine and an electrolyzer and captured CO2. We actually refine those e-fuels all the way into gasoline, and Porsche is an investor, both an investor in our company and a buyer of the e-fuels. And so they take those e-fuels then and use them in different things like experience centers or just last month, they did an altitude project, they called it, where they used the e-fuels and put it in a 911 and drove to the highest volcano in southern Chile and broke a world record for the highest combustion engine being able to climb a volcano. So
Wow.
a lot of good publicity for HIF because it's exciting that it's able to prove that these fuels are very specifically drop-in replacements for their fossil counterparts, and they can be used today. So HIF is developing projects, like you said, both in Chile and in Texas, and then also in Australia, and even the Middle East and North Africa, as we try to find and locate sort of stranded resources on the renewable side that we can then convert to liquid fuels and ship them to high demand centers.
Yeah, yeah. You say, I guess, sort of stranded resources. I guess they're really, I guess, stranded from the grid, and you're really sort of mining out some of the top sort of renewable resources in the world, both on solar and wind, or ideally both. Which obviously, Patagonia has that awesome wind, and is able to produce real sort of low cost fuels that can carry the burden. So, what are some of the challenges you're facing at the moment? Obviously, this is a very new industry.
Okay, so I would say, key challenges from a project development perspective is really, lack of regulatory certainty. I think that myself and other developers view the lack of certainty around the policy that defines the mandates for fuels in different markets as the enemy of investment, right? So until I can have certainty around exactly how the credits will be applied and worked out, then I cannot have a buyer of the fuels for a certain price, right? And because we're a development company, we do need long-term offtake contracts. I think that, if we get that definition, then there would be a lot more acceleration of some of these hydrogen derivative projects, which then, would allow investment in the downstream consuming infrastructure. And so it would really catalyze what I think is the hydrogen, market and industry in the world. So
Yeah.
kind of starting with e-fuels as drop-in replacements and then eventually converting into more hydrogen on the downstream side.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that obviously some markets in terms of aviation specifically, I think, yeah, that surely is a long-term e-fuels market.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we agree. The fact that it is a hard, to abate sector, like I said, where there's unlikely going to be an opportunity absent some, just disruptive technology and batteries or something. that there will be a good alternative to aviation fuel that is not a synthetic version of the fossil equivalent. So HIF is working very closely with some different licensors and technology providers on the sustainable aviation fuel technology and pathways, and are excited to develop those projects in the near future once that technology has been accepted by the regulatory body for blending into jet fuel.
Yeah. And in terms of where you are with the US project, what are some of the sort of lessons you're learning and whereabouts are you?
Yeah, so I've been working on the US project for over 4 years now, which in hydrogen is a long time. Um, and so we've made a ton of really strategic and advantageous milestones that we met, I would say. We are almost 100% engineered with our EPC contractor for a very large 1.4 million ton eMethanol plant. That plant will also produce the green hydrogen. So we have a very large electric grid connection that we've negotiated with the utility provider. We've secured a lot of the feedstocks from the power supply and the CO2 side, and are kind of working through our commercial arrangements for offtake, with the plan to FID the project either later this year or early next year. So it'll be one of the largest in the world, a very large scale up of our Patagonia facility.
Yeah. And the source of CO2, is that public knowledge?
It's not specifically public, but I'll talk broadly about it. The one of the reasons that we are in Texas is because there's a lot of, I would say, sort of low-hanging fruit that we were able to capitalize on from an existing infrastructure perspective that is harder to find in remote areas of southern Chile and Tasmania, for example.
Yeah.
So we are getting the benefit of existing CO2 pipeline infrastructure that exists along the Gulf Coast, and then we are working opportunistically with several, both industrial and biogenic point sources that we will tie into that system. I think that there's a lot of debate sort of globally about the color or the quality of the CO2, be it from a biogenic source or an industrial. From a pure molecule perspective, this is an emergency. All CO2 should be removed from the atmosphere for different projects, and utilization is something that can continue to be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It doesn't need to be subsidized to continue to remove it from the atmosphere because it's then put in a product that can be commoditized. However, all that being said, we recognize that the buyer or the end user is the determining factor of the kind of color of CO2 that you want. And
Mhm.
so working with our various off-takers, we are making sure we secure the kind of CO2 that they need to have for either their corporate goals and perspectives, or to meet the regulation that they're trying to satisfy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's been a long time, a lot of development work, hard yards. What are some of I guess, key lessons you've learned?
Yeah, I think that, man, one thing that I maybe wasn't expecting, because I come from a kind of competitive midstream world on the infrastructure side, is just the sheer need for collaboration, right? I think a lot of people believe that, because I'm an eFuels project, I may be competing for, position or first over the line with an ammonia project nearby, or for equipment supply from, other hydrogen producing products or projects or something like that. But really, this industry is just still so nascent that we need all of these projects to be successful. To number one, meet our decarbonization targets, which are I would say very high compared to the success rate we've had to date, or the ability that we've had to move the needle on that. And secondly, I just think that we're kind of all in this together, and as we build this industry, and it becomes more accepted and usable, and then all the infrastructure, like I said, on the downstream side gets implemented, then we really would have met our goals of sort of global decarbonization, and done the work that we set out to do. It's not like any one small project can make an impact such that all the other ones that are trying to be successful must fail, right?
Yeah,
We all need to be successful together so that it is an industry that can compete with fossil fuels and or displace them. I mean, I think, and I don't know if I said this, but one of the coolest things I love about producing like a fossil equivalent fuel is that for every gallon that we can make, that means we leave a gallon in the ground, right?
yeah.
And so, over time, you just make small little incremental changes and benefits, and then you hope that all the developers that are trying to do the same thing are successful, so that we can move the needle more than any one of us can alone.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. The need for collaboration is certainly there, and join all the voices together, and you have a big voice. So yeah, we look forward to indeed helping that happen with our own work in terms of and specifically our event in Houston, come May the 21st to 23rd. So it's been great talking to you, Brooke. Many thanks for waking up early. Well, it's not early for you, but taking the call at such an early hour. And we look forward to seeing HIF Global go from strength to strength, and your project coming online hopefully at the end of the year.
Yep. Thank you very much, Nadeem. I appreciate the time. Look forward to seeing you in Houston.
Cheers. Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye bye.